everyone. How are you? It's Farah with the Meeting Your Soul podcast. If you've ever listened to this podcast before, this is not normally how my voice sounds. I've actually been under the weather the last week, which has been very annoying, which is also why I'm just in my bed because I have not really been out and about as I normally would be. So but I still wanted to put together a pod for you. But as always, quick life update. I'll keep it short. The last week's episode was all about relationships and just kind of really diving into that and lessons of the heart and things that I've been learning. And, I think being triggered and going through just a lot on that side of things. And then I feel like this week, it's like the universe just throwing every fucking curveball possible. And if you feel this, I hope I'm happy that I'm not alone because I feel like I've just been in the ringer for the last month. And I was like, dear God, please, tell me that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But and then I realized I was like, I might be I might be struggling more than I normally am at this point. And I am, as you probably have listened and heard, I'm a pretty optimistic person. People around me always talk about how positive I am. I always try to find the silver lining. And within the last 4 days, I was also sick, which doesn't help. But I was really depressed. And if you don't know this, I have actually struggled with depression for most of my life. It's something that I've overcome without drugs, thankfully. I have been on antidepressants. I've been on Adderall. I've been on a few different psychoactive drugs. I won't go into more detail about that. But and so I have, but I really didn't. I've always noticed some side effects that I just didn't love. And so I really wanted to be able to find a way to be able to handle it without it. And that's no knock to anyone that does that. It's just my personal journey. And I remember that's why I found yoga. And that was one of the first times I really got really content with my life and with myself, and mentally was able to really kind of curb a lot of the negative and self-limiting beliefs that I was experiencing, and recognize a lot of my anxiety was actually stemming from the thoughts that I was creating within my mind and scenarios I was creating. So I got really intentional about what I thought about, what I focused my energy on, and started doing a lot of, obviously physical practices. And on it, to be perfectly frank, within the last couple of years, really dove into understanding the biohacking aspect of it, of okay, do I need serotonin? Do I need endorphins? Do I need more dopamine? Do I need some oxytocin? I really started understanding the feel good hormones and what created them within my body, and started creating practices that I could do those on a regular basis. So when I was going through a challenging time, I could do that for a physical change within my hormonal patterns. But then also I went to therapy, I was talking through it, I was looking at myself, I was self-reflecting, I was growing, I was being really honest with myself about areas in which I needed to make an adjustment with it. And so it's been an ongoing journey, and I still have my bouts with depressive, I wouldn't say depressive episodes, it's more like depressive days, probably is a better way to put it, or a couple days, but I'll just be really in a dark place, to be perfectly honest, and I'll just be sad, and I will, sometimes I'll cry, sometimes I won't, sometimes I'll just feel like I don't want to move, and I'll just lay in bed and not... I'll wallow. It's really what I'll do. It's not funny, but that's the reality of it. I just wallow. I wallow, and I'm just bah humbug. Very Eeyore energy, to say the least. But I know when I'm in that space, I have to do something to change it. And so I think it's important to feel your feelings, negative, positive, all of the above. So I'll be in that space for a little bit. I'll really ask myself what I need to learn from it. Why is this coming up for me? More often than not, journal about it. Why is this coming up? What are these feelings trying to teach me? Because discomfort and sadness, grief, anger, irritation, all of that's coming up for a reason. And so there's no reason to deny those feelings. At least that's what I would say. I'm not going to deny what I'm feeling, but I can be aware of them. I can absorb them. I can take them. But then I also want to move through them. And I think that's the step that sometimes, especially if you suffer from depression or depressive episodes, that's the step that we sometimes forget, is we're here, we're in it, we're feeling it. We're not emotionally bypassing, we're not spiritually bypassing it, we're not skipping ahead. We're moving forward, and we're moving forward wiser and more confident and more integrated than we were before. And that's the key difference, at least for myself and what I've learned that works for me. And I do have a degree in psychology. I have gone through counseling. My counselor literally was like, you're doing pretty good. Like, you sometimes need to hear some hard truths, and I love to ask those questions, but for the most part, you're very self-reflective and you kind of know yourself really well. And this has taken years for me to be able to get to that space, but I was able to get there. And so now I take the lessons I learn and I try to move forward with them in a really constructive way. So, nonetheless, boop, 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 forward. I was in one of those phases the last couple days. And then I was like, okay, well, how am I going to snap out of this? And so then I went for a really long walk, like way longer than I normally would. I took my dog, which I love, and was like giving her cuddles before I left. Little oxytocin, cuddling for oxytocin, which is the hormone associated with like the soulmate hormone or the cuddle hormone. It's like whenever you get a hug, you can get that hormone released within your body. And so then I went and did that, and then I took her for a long walk, which was endorphin, so I got a sweat going. I spent some time in sunshine. Thankfully, it was sunny outside, so I got dopamine. Sunshine, it naturally releases dopamine within your body. And then I also went and actually sat in nature, went to the beach, walked in the forest, that kind of stuff for my walk. That's why I was like walking around in nature is what I typically will do. So all that goes to say, I did all of these things because I knew where I was at mentally. I needed to do some things to actually change my physiological response to what was going on within me. So I did. And it didn't fix it. It wasn't like a magic cure-all, but I felt better. I felt more inspired. And then I was at least energized enough to do something with it, you know? So then I actually like went and I like got dressed and I like worked on a business plan I'm working on. I'm working on a new business. And so then I like finished that up and like really organized everything. And I was just feeling just in a much more positive frame of mind by the end of the day, which I was grateful for. So if you're ever feeling in a funk, I would definitely suggest, actually I have a feel good hormones episode. If you want to check out that episode, it's literally, I think it's called Give Me a Dose of Those Feel Good Hormones. And it'll break down each one and how you can access that within your own life and different examples of doing it. So I really strongly encourage that. It's saved me in so many ways. Like I said, I still struggle with it sometimes, but I at least now know what to do in order to counteract it. And I think that information is powerful, especially if you feel emotions on a deeper scale than most. So that's quick life update. That's what I've been doing. And then I feel like anything that's like ever been like a wound of mine has been coming up recently. So then I just dove deeper into those. But I think taking accountability, being honest with myself, really just looking at it instead of like turning a blind eye has been really beneficial for me. And I really just needed to address a whole bunch of shit that honestly I was avoiding like the plague because I don't want to deal with it. Avoidant attachment style. See? Talked about it last episode. It comes up not just in relationships, but in other areas as well. So I kind of dove into that as well. And it's been good. And I feel like me facing all of these things has opened the door up to new possibilities. I feel like I've been really honest with myself about some pitfalls and some things I needed to change. And because of that, new opportunities are coming my way. And you know, that's not to say like, who knows? And also my affirmation's been like, God, show me how good it can get. So each morning I've been meditating. I always meditate every day. Every morning I've been saying, God, how good can it get? And we're going to see. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I can't even speak. Okay, let's dive into the episode. So now that you know what's going on in my life, I will talk about Dharma. And if you don't know, I'm a Dharma coach. So I actually went through the Dharma Coaching Institute with Sahara Rose and had an incredible experience. It was an online program, but they did a couple of online and in-person and kind of live sessions. And so we got to ask questions, be involved, did small groups. It was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed the program. So if you're interested in getting involved with any of that, let me know. And I'm happy to share more about my experience. So I went through that Dharma coaching program, and then afterwards, I've been really enjoying just the idea of supporting others in this way. And if you're unfamiliar with the word Dharma, it's actually your soul's purpose. So there is a belief, Dharma is actually Sanskrit, and so it's an ancient Indian dialect and language, and it means, so Dharma means soul's purpose. And so there is an intention around the fact that you were put on this earth for a specific reason, and you're supposed to give back and serve and really live out a Dharma, a purpose. And that purpose really varies depending on who you are. There's archetypes that come along with it, like the entertainer or the nurturer or the researcher. There's different personality types that you best give back in these ways. And if you listen to the Dharma Blueprint, I kind of give a little bit of an overview of what those were and how those could come up for you. But deeper than that, I think that there is an intention for why you were placed on this earth. And I think we collect experiences, knowledge, things naturally light us up in directions in order to move us in that towards our Dharma. And if we trust our intuition, if we trust ourselves, then we will arrive exactly where we're meant to be. And I have wholeheartedly believe that that's kind of like where my life is leading me at this point. But then we have a shitload of lessons to learn along the way. So don't give up. Don't give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. Never give up. Because life is meant to throw you curveballs. You are meant to go on a roller coaster ride. But you just have to hold on. Because if you hold on, you will end up exactly where you were meant to. And I trust in that. I believe in that. I live by that. And so knowing what your Dharma is, there's different stages to be able to even get to that space. And that's what I want to talk about first. So there's 5 stages of Dharma. And this way is like, as a Dharma coach, I kind of recognize where someone is within those stages, and then I take them from there. So first stage is self-awareness. Just becoming more self-aware. Who am I? How am I showing up in this world? How are people perceiving me? How am I perceiving myself? What are preconceived notions that I have about myself that I've been holding on to? What really needs to change in order for me to be where I need to be? What shifts do I need to make within my life? How am I playing small? How am I like living according to what everyone else wants me to do instead of what I truly want to do? That's a lot of it. Stage 2, self-improvement. You start really excuse me, my throat is like so shot. You start exploring the world of self-help and self-development. And you start really understanding your mind, the connection of heart and mind, and then also body. And so usually within that, you start maybe exercising a little bit more. Maybe you start delving into the idea of mental health or spirituality, or you start even noticing, like, if I do these things, I just feel a lot more positive, or I feel a lot more confident. Or maybe you start reading books that are opening your mind to new concepts that you never understood before. That's that like direction of like, I want to be better than who I am today. How do I do that? And I think definitely love yourself within the process, but there is this inspiration and aspiration to be able to evolve and to become the next version of who you know within your heart that you're meant to be. Then you really start going into your spiritual awakening. I've had a couple, and they're always a little rocky. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. These are not for the faint of heart. These are not just like, ooh, I feel so good, and now I'm just like enlightened. No. You're going to go to some dark realms. Dark night of the soul. Have you heard of it? It's like literally a time where all of your worst fears come to the surface, and you literally have to face all of them. And it is probably one of the more challenging things I've ever experienced in my life. I've had 2. And it's not like a walk in the park, to say the least. But you understand yourself on a deeper level. And that's the whole intention around it. If you don't know what you fear, if you don't know that you can actually face those fears and that you could survive and you can get to the other side of them, you don't really know yourself. You don't really know what you're even capable of yet because you haven't actually experienced it. You don't know the fullest expansion of who you are unless you've seen the darkest and deepest depths of who you are, and probably the areas that you would rather never see or even want to acknowledge. Childhood trauma, all the things, like adult trauma, any type of self-limiting beliefs, any kind of belief that you are not enough exactly as you are is what is going to come up to the surface, so you can recognize and realize you are actually enough just as you are. You are. You actually are perfect exactly the way you are. You are a divine design. You are intended to be exactly the person you are meant to be. And that's where I think we really get into the tools and practices that work for you, and you find things that help you connect to that. And also I think it's just definitely a different stage of self-love, of self-development, of self-acceptance. It's like tired of the bullshit, tired of fitting in, tired of trying to fit into the box that the world told you you needed to be, or maybe your parents told you you needed to be, or you told yourself you needed to be in order to be successful or seen or loved or understood or whatever, XYZ, whatever it is for you. Once you get past that and you really just start being you, that's where the fun begins. That's where the shit really starts to pop off. And I've people that know me have seen me probably two distinct stages within that. The first one was when I found yoga and meditation. I recognized the immense amount of self-limiting beliefs I had in my life. I've realized how I was holding myself back from love. I recognized how I was trying to be the good girl, how I was still trying to get my parents' approval, how I was still trying to be accepted by my peers by fitting into what everybody else was. And I broke away from it all. Literally was like, fuck that. I like literally stopped doing everything. I recognized all the things, and it was literally one of the most beautiful times in my life. And if you listen to my first episode, Unhinged to Yogini, I'll talk more about it. I was also abusing a lot of alcohol. I was drinking a lot. I was numbing a lot. And so I stopped doing all of that, and I actually started to enjoy my life and really see myself for who I really was. So that was my first one. And then most recently, when I went through my divorce, when I got out of the preconceived notion that I needed to be married with a kid, with a house, with a career, and that's what success really was, then I went through another one with that. So I've had multiple moments where I've just really broken out of the mold and needed to do that in order to really change and like shift into the unique expression of who I actually am, and that all of these things are working towards me and working in my favor, and that these all make me who I am, and I'm really lucky to be that person, and I'm actually really fucking dope. And I think I just always, I don't know, man, we're just always telling ourselves the stories about why we're not enough, and it's like, why not just start telling yourself why you're amazing? You know, isn't that crazy? It seems so simple. It's really hard to do. So once you start doing that, then that's where Dharma development and embodiment really come into play. So with Dharma development, you have an understanding of what role you're meant to play within this world. You look for the ways to develop and live your Dharma. You want to discover your unique approach to how you're going to live that. And then that's in Dharma embodiment is when you're actually like the inner and outer world merge. It's like you are all of who you are. Every essence of you is just exuding from you. You are living in the exact intention and in purpose of why you are meant to be here, and you are making shifts and you are making profound impact in the world around you. And maybe that's only 3 people that come into terms with you while you're doing something that inspires you. Maybe it's you creating a piece of artwork that changes things for a large group of people or inspires even a small group of people. This is not scalable. It doesn't mean the scale doesn't change the influence that it makes, right? The impact that you make could be within, like I said, 1 to 2 people, but that still could be profound for them, and you can change them forever. So know that this doesn't mean that you're like going to be world famous. Like that's not everyone's dharma. Like what it means is that you're doing exactly what you are meant to do. Maybe that's within your community and you're making a change. Maybe that's within your small group of friends or family members that you're making a change. Maybe it's breaking generational curses or generational like pains that have been around, but you're helping your entire family work through those and move past those. That's profound. That is incredible. That is worth it. Like, be proud of yourself for whatever that is. Like, don't dim your light just because it's not what everyone else is doing. Dharma is unique. It's specific to you. So no one else will be doing exactly what you're doing in the way that you're doing it. That's just a fact of it. Okay. So there's 3 paths of how you get to your Dharma. One is like the giant leap. You quit your job, you're like, I'm out this bitch. I'm done. I'm skipping. You move to another country, you change it all. Hey, we've all been there. And honestly, more power to you if that's what you're doing. I have never, I kind of have. I think the divorce was a bit of a leap. I just really dove in. The other one was definitely more of a transitions where I took small controlled steps towards it. And that was also because I was doing yoga. I was really trying to understand what it all meant. And so I was like, and it was showing up in different areas of my life. So I was really methodical about how I was moving through it because I just, it was so new to me and I didn't really fully understand it that I just was like, okay, I'm changing this. I'm getting more active. I'm doing more yoga. I became a yoga teacher. I started to read more the Bhagavad Gita. I started reading more books. I started just opening my mind open to, or opening my mind to the ideas that I just never knew about before. So I think then when I took the second leap, when I took the leap the second time, it was a little bit more, I was more comfortable with it because I knew that if I trusted myself, I would end up exactly where I needed to be, right? And then there's the accidental, where your Dharma finds you in a very unexpected way. For example, you take up a hobby, you have a regular job, and then you ask yourself, then you find yourself making more time to do this new position. Like, it's just like you kind of fall into it. And that's awesome. And then it's like, trust yourself, move forward with that way, and you'll be great. So the 3 ways. Quit everything, dive right in, take small steps towards it until you're finished, and wait for inspiration to strike, and then move forward. So all of them is your Dharma. All of them are your way. And I think different personality types are ones that come up for different people for different reasons. And so it feels more comfortable and natural for you. I think when something feels natural, unforced, it just comes together. That's usually when you know that it's right and aligned, in alignment with what you're meant to do. So the next set of tools is your 4 types of Dharma. So there's 4 types of Dharma in which you can have. So you can have a natural born gift, you can have a breakdown to break through, you can have overcoming obstacles, or you can have helping others overcome obstacles. And for me personally, I would say it's a little bit of each of these for me personally. I think I've definitely have natural born gifts of holding space for others. I've always been inspired by psychology. I've always been fascinated by the human mind. I've also just loved to listen and like really hold space for people. And I have this natural grounding and empathetic presence. I don't always think that I have it, to be honest. I don't, but people perceive that from me very strongly. And so I think that that is very much a natural gift that I possess. I'd also say that overcoming an obstacle, my first one was really overcoming the obstacle of anxiety and depression. I had struggled with it for so long that I honestly didn't know I could live any other way. And so for me, the first real embodiment of my Dharma when I went through yoga teacher training, became a yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga ever since, and it's been such a healing journey for me and also just such an impact that I've made within the community around me. I actually had a student come up to me and say that I was teaching and I had said a few things and it literally shifted her entire perspective on how she was viewing a situation, and she made some really large changes within her life because of it, and very positive changes. And she came up to me a month later actually and told me all about it, and I was like so grateful that she shared it with me. But I would say I've overcome a lot of obstacles, and big and small. I think a lot of them were mental, self-inflicted, to say the least. And so with that, I feel like I've moved past them. And because I've moved past those obstacles and seen the other side of it, I want to help other people do the same thing. So I would say that's been the case. But I've also definitely had a breakdown and breakthrough. So then I would say that the breakdown was right before I left and kind of shifted my life a few years ago. I was really in a really toxic relationship in a toxic place, and my body was taking a toll, and I was really on the verge of like, I don't know how else I'm going to get through this other than if I make a really dramatic change. And I think sometimes those breakdowns, the breakthrough is when it comes up in a really difficult time in your life and you make some pretty significant changes, and then you recognize that those were exactly the changes you needed to do. So I don't think any of these are the right way. I think these are all just your way. I just wanted to highlight them. The last one is just helping other people overcome obstacles. So maybe you've watched you know, people go through certain things and then you've like repeatedly been there to help them. Like one of my girlfriends has helped, she's been in the labor room. She doesn't have children. I just want to start this. She doesn't have any kids. She's been in the labor room 3 or 4 times, and she's so meant to be a doula. I just wanted to say that. She's so intended to be a doula, and she, that is totally her purpose. She commands a room like no other, and it is incredible to watch. But like, that's like, she's helping others go through childbirth, and I just got chills thinking about it. This woman, like, who else just gets invited into like the fucking like room with somebody to help them give birth? Never has been through it, doesn't have any, like, isn't like a doctor or a physician or anything. Like, that's just a natural born gift, and also something where she's repeatedly been shown that it helps her to help others. So I go all of this to say is like, I think this is really a point of reflection for you now, is like, you've listened to me talk about all these things, but then really think like, what stage of Dharma are you in? Like, are you in the stage of self-awareness? Are you in the stage of self-awakening or self-improvement? Are you in spiritual awakening? Are you Dharma development or Dharma embodiment? Like, where are you within that? And like, how do you think that you'll get there? Or how have you arrived there? Is it taking a big leap? Do you know in your heart, like, I know I just need to do this, but I'm scared and I can't? Or like, there's a transition where you're like, you're taking a few steps, but some things have been grabbing your attention or you've been getting distracted. Like, can you stay course? Can you stay focused? Can you make it a priority within your life? And like, also, is there a passion that's just pulling towards you? Is it the accidental discovery? Like, do you have something that's pulling towards you that you keep inkling towards, but like, you're like, well, I don't make any money doing this, so I even keep doing it? Or is this really that important to you? If your heart is tugging you in that direction, trust it. Please trust it. If I could teach anybody anything, if your heart guides you towards something, there is a fucking reason why. So trust it. Trust yourself to know what direction you need to go into, and then move in that direction, even if you don't fully understand, even if the path isn't clear, even if you have no fucking clue why this is happening. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. You will arrive exactly where you're meant to be. I guarantee it. Okay? Sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional about that, but that's like so important to me. And I feel like half of my battles and half my conversations with people are all about just getting them to trust themselves, because it's so hard to, and I know I've struggled with it for most of my life, and I still do sometimes. But I know that whenever I do, I always am positively rewarded. And even in this moment where I'm making another big transition within my life, and it is a little bit of a leap. It's a transitional leap. I'll say it's a merge of the two. I know I'm trusting myself to make that change, and I have this feeling that's going to have me arrive exactly where I'm meant to be and really be able to be in my full essence. And I love Dharma coaching. I think this is a part of my journey. I think this is all a part of it, and I want to help others be able to find that journey for themselves. Is this my forever? It's, I think, always going to be a piece of it, but it's not all of it. And that's the part. So like, even if it doesn't, all the puzzle pieces aren't there, just keep trugging along. They'll come up. They'll come up if you keep trusting yourself. So what stage of Dharma are you in? What is your type of Dharma? And what's your preferred path of Dharma? And then I think then we go into the idea of Dharma evolution. We really go into the framework of what we like get to know about the steps in order to then really live in your truth and in your Dharma. And I'll leave that for another episode, because I think we've definitely covered quite a bit. And I think I would really just encourage you to just reflect on all these pieces, to be able to write them down, to write notes on it, listen to this again if you missed any of it, come back to it, and then just really open yourself up to the ideas and possibilities and what inspires you. These are also deep reflection questions, like what inspires you? What makes you feel more alive? What are some of the obstacles you've overcome? What has been a huge struggle for you that you feel like you can help guide others in overcoming themselves? So much of that is within branding. They talk about that, the branding messaging, and like any type of business. What service are you providing, and why do you feel like it works? Like if you're, teaching yoga, why do you teach yoga? Why are you making that difference? If you are making candles, why is that important to you? Why does that pull at you? Is it because it's relaxing for you and you feel like you get a benefit from it? Like, again, there's so many different answers. It can be so complex. It's different for everyone. Honor your truth, write it all down, and I would love to hear more about it. Please share it with me. You have no idea. I love talking about this kind of stuff. As you might imagine, I literally spent $6,000 and got like a coaching certificate in order to be a part of it, but to also be around other people that are inspired in the same way that I am. And that's really serving others. And like, if you, want to talk more about this, I was going to talk about the archetypes, but you can also understand your Dharma archetype. Reach out to me. I would love to do a consultation with you. I'd love to talk to you more about this, and just to really help support you and pursuing your dreams. And I think we all have those dreams that keep coming up for us, and it's never too late to pursue them. Believe that. It's never too late. And what was it? I think I'm trying to think of. There was one famous artist that I don't think even started painting, or like a chef that didn't even start until they were in their like 60s. So it's like, it's never too late. It's like, just believe in it, trust it, and then inch forward with it while still maintaining all the other stuff that you have going on in life, which is half the battle, right? Life's going to tug at us. It's going to pull us in opposite directions. So prioritizing some self-care, some self-reflection, and hopefully an opportunity to be able to give back in the way that you were intended to. And that's a beautiful thing, and it's definitely a gift not to be kept away from the world, because I think the world is waiting for you to bloom in the exact way you were meant to. So, want to reach out? Contact me. I'm on the gram at Ferrachino, Ferrachino. If you want to work with me or even set up a free consultation, coachingwithfarah.com. Coaching with Farah, Ferrahchino. Or that's, fuck, my bad. I said coachingwithfarah.com is my website. Ferrachino is my Instagram. Both of them are linked with each other, so if you find one, you'll definitely find the other one pretty quickly on. I love you. Talk to you later. Bye.